From the View My Sports studios, it's The Breakdown with your hosts, Roger Tillis and Chuck Olessker.
Today's guest on The Breakdown, he's the Chief Operations Officer of ViewMySport.com and your co-host of The Breakdown, Chuck Olessker. Hi, and welcome to another edition of The Breakdown. I'm Roger Tillis, your host, and I am here joined with our co-host, Chuck Olessker. Actually, we have a treat today. We bring in special guests to share information about recruiting and college and high school sports and things like that, all to be helpful for our audience out there. We have a unique pleasure to have Chuck on as actually our guest today. Woo! Chuck is not just the Chief Operations Officer for the company, ViewMySport.com, but he also is a parent of an athlete, one that went through high school football, one that went through the recruiting process, one that got offers. And we're going to get into the details of the situation. And the question asked is, what happens when your student athlete says, hey, Mom, Dad, don't want to play in college. I know I have offers. I know the ultimate goal has been reached. Changed my mind. Don't want to do it for whatever reason. And it's a big shock to the family. It's a shock to the parents, obviously. Hell, it's a shock to virtually everybody that was involved in the process. And you got to think, too, it's also a little bit of a shock to the kid. The kid probably it's surreal to at the moment that he says, Dad, I don't want to do this. Yeah. So we're going to get into a lot of detail having to do with that. But first, before we start breaking that down, something else that Chuck is involved in is the highlight video aspects. He handles the video highlights for the Bowl School and their football and lacrosse and soccer, and he's very involved in that. So we thought that we would spend a portion of today's show talking about the intricacies of the highlight videos. You think, it's got to be flashy and things like that. There's a lot of do's and don'ts, so we're going to talk about that today. So, Chuck, again, thank you very much for taking the time to actually be in the hot seat today.
Thank you.
How does it feel? Are you nervous?
It's a little different. Hiding behind the keyboard and the soundboard and the computer monitor and things like that. But that's fine. We're resilient and we'll roll with it.
Well, translated, he's scared to death and he's got to actually talk now.
That's right.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll bring you in slow, I promise.
That's right.
But we're gonna have a good time today. Highlight videos. I mean, the highlight videos are probably one of the, if not the most important piece, not of the recruiting process, but of your repertoire, your resume, if you will. It's not that the college coaches, and you can confirm this for me, but it's not that the college coaches look at the highlight video and go, oh, I want that guy. Sure, they might see something, really outstanding from time to time, but for the most part, for the normal process, highlight video is enough to give a taste to a coach, regardless of sport, so they can see, hey, they have something special. Chuck, again, in your experience, and you've been doing this for quite a while, and still you like to dabble in it. You're very involved with the Bowl School still. What's your take as far as the highlight videos for sports? Where is there like a number one, number two type of thing that you need to take into consideration?
Well, certainly, the best quality that you can get from the video. Now, I know a lot of times highlight videos, they're filmed by parents sitting in the stands,
jumping up and down,
and all that. But if your school provides video services, you should be able to get a copy of the game to incorporate that, because generally they tend to use a little bit higher quality camera.
Yeah, resolution is strong. We're not saying it has to be HD, but the grainy quality. Remember, these coaches have never seen you before. They don't have the foggiest idea which one you are, so they want to see it clearly, and then you have to be identified.
Right. Right. So the quality, if you can, and then the next thing is length. It'd be nice to put every game that you possibly played in a season on one, but the truth of the matter is coaches you may have 3, at the most 4 minutes to make a lasting impression with your highlight video.
And 4 minutes, really, I mean, in talking to a lot of the college coaches, 4 minutes is a long time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Especially when it's just play. Well, using football, for example. I mean, now if you're watching a floor routine or something in gymnastics, or certain things it requires you to watch from beginning to end. Football, I mean, usually the highlights are, look at this great play, look at this great play, look at that great play. You know, so 4 minutes of that gets old.
Yeah, so we generally, when I create a highlight video, try to keep it to about 20 to 25 plays and about 3 or so, a little over 3 minutes long. Because again, you try to put your best stuff up at the beginning, and show what you have. Right. Because the coach may just have a minute. Sure. And to look at your stuff before he moves on to the next thing. So you want to put your best stuff up there, and then you show what other talents you might have further on into the highlight video.
Let me ask you something now. One of the big things, and I've looked at, it seems like thousands of highlight videos. Obviously, with ViewMySport.com, they upload the highlight videos onto their profile. So we really do have that ability to go and look. Some of them, the graphic comes up and gives the name and height, weight, and maybe their school and things like that. It's almost like a movie entryway into the highlight video. Now, what is your recommendation? Because again, these are coaches wanting to see you. They don't need the fluff. Right. I mean, is it something that maybe just as a courtesy, maybe a quick, name and phone number, or I mean, what is the typical?
What I do is put an introductory picture, either in uniform or something that may be able to capture the face, and then the name, position, number, high school or club team that you're participating with, and then some sort of contact information, be it a phone number or an email. And that's the opening slide, and that's 4 at the most 5 seconds long, because they don't want to you don't want to dwell on that kind of information right away, because they can always rewind it or move back.
And a lot of that information is on the profile. Really, I mean, so but I agree with you. I think picture and the name, the number, position, and they don't need stats, they don't need all that stuff. Right. Remember, your highlight video is not your profile. Your highlight video is your highlight video. It's simply to show what you were doing out on the field in your workouts, whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
Now, one thing, too, and this is probably number one, we talk to coaches all the time and hear the issues that they have. Music. Make it real simple for you parents and athletes. No music. Some of the music is quite offensive. Yeah, okay, you like it, it's cool, that's great. Great. Make a copy of your highlight video for your own family and personal use. But when you send something to the high school or to the college coaches or to any coach that you want to review your skill set, don't have any music. Matter of fact, you don't need any sound whatsoever. No special effects, none of that garbage. No slow motion replay and all that kind of stuff and lightning bolts. All that stuff is crap. It looks great for your home purpose. Don't use it as the highlight video, because coaches, first of all, one of the first things they do is hit mute when they play it, because some of the lyrics and some of the stuff comes blaring out. Honestly, can be offensive to some people. Believe me, you don't want to turn a coach off before he even gets to see the first play on your highlight reel. Don't take that chance. So that's number one. Well, actually, number two. Clarity is number one. Number two, no music. And also an identifying, either a circle, an arrow, a glowing. I can't tell you how many, and you probably look at a lot of them. It's like looking at raw footage. It's the play. Great, I see 22 people out there running around in football. I don't know which one you are. Even if you give the number, do you know how hard it is to see the number on the jerseys and move in action? So when you're making your highlight reel, somehow, some way, you need to either make you glow or an arrow point or identify you. You have got to be identified. Coaches aren't going to sit there and try to figure it out. They don't have the time. They have thousands of these things that they're looking at.
Right.
Now, Chuck, I've seen some of the videos that you've done, and I see some others out on profiles where I believe you do the little arrow or circle.
I do. I keep it simple. I use an arrow. I've at times have used the circle, and I've seen animated circles where it'll revolve around the player,
Sure.
or I've seen where somebody will take and create the person glows.
Yeah,
or,
I've seen
like
that. Sure.
My philosophy on it is it's a simple identifying mark. I use a yellow arrow. I stop usually at the beginning of the play. I stop have 2 seconds or so of the image, a still image with the arrow pointing to the player.
Right.
And then it moves into the play. So at least the coach has an idea. Okay, here's the setup. Here's the player. Okay, I'm kind of trying to follow him.
So he knows who to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
I would watch and then let the play run out.
Ain't fancy, but it's effective.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. You got to make sure you're identifiable. We see on a lot of profiles video from phones, video from cameras, and we've seen it all. We've seen every possible bad mistake you can make on a video. Doesn't cost a lot of money. Matter of fact, if you've got a computer and you're doing your own highlight video, they have all the ways to annotate, to put little arrows or circles. You just have to take a little time and do it. And if you don't know how, great, get somebody else to do it. Right. So again, and that's so important. Like I said, coaches simply aren't going to take the time to try to find you. You know who you are. Your parents might know who you are. Your friends do. This isn't about ego. This is about doing it right. By God, if you're going to take the time to make a profile, if you're going to take the time to try to communicate with coaches, give them the best possible product so that they can give you the best possible response.
Exactly.
If you don't take that time, you know what? You're not going to be considered. Why bother? You better check the egos because believe me, ain't no room for it in the recruiting process.
That's right.
That
exactly.
I can promise you.
Exactly.
Now, Chuck, you figure you've got, and it's hard. I mean, some kids, the schools don't have the videos. They don't have things going on where they can go. They don't have huddle. They don't, have these services. Maybe mom and dad, does the best they can. Maybe they're using their phone cameras. But if they've got a computer, they should, be able to. Well, here's the simple fact: it doesn't matter what your position or situation is. If you don't have the money and don't get a highlight video, chances are, you're going to have a problem getting recruited. It is that.
Right.
I mean, it's at least not for every sport, but if you take football is very critical. They've got to see some sort of highlight. If you don't have any, then you better have awesome writing skills, and you better know how to get on the telephone and talk to the coaches, and you better do it a lot. You better do it every day until you can get a coach to actually come to a game and see you. And again, I don't mean see you lifting weights and see you running the 40-yard dash and all that combine crap. I'm talking about game situation, transition. If it's basketball, how you transition from offense to defense, vice versa.
Right, exactly.
Right? I mean,
yeah.
And that's another thing. I think in the highlights for sports where you do the offense, defense, football, basketball, lacrosse, soccer, it's important not just to show you highlighting a certain skill, kicking a goal or sinking a three. You need to show some transition. Show in football you downfield blocking.
Exactly.
Maybe what you do as a receiver after there's an interception. Do you track the guy down, or do you just sit there with your hands on your hips with your head down?
Right.
You need to show the other intangibles, those little things that aren't glorious, but they can separate you from your competition, like downfield block. I mean,
right, exactly.
What's your take on that, Chuck?
Exactly. For linemen, offensive linemen, it's pretty much a standard thing. You're blocking.
Your footwork
in hands and things like that. For the skill positions, defensive people, obviously, they're looking to how do you escape a block and how do you make a tackle.
Mm-hmm.
For the offensive skill position folks, receivers, I've worked with kids who what we did was put as a receiver, it's important to show that you can catch the ball, you can make difficult catches in your different situations, but it's also a segment identified for downfield blocking. Because a lot of times in games, it's difference between a first down, a touchdown, or not, or even a state championship is the fact that somebody missed a block downfield and that's your guy. So you want to be able to show that flexibility in your talent. And if you can do that within the 3 minutes, that's fine. Again, you're really only trying to pick out the best plays. You don't have to show every catch that you made. For field goal kickers and extra point folks, you don't have to show every kick that you've made.
Just show a variety of distance.
Exactly.
And really,
the distance and position.
Yeah,
and
not every extra point, things like that. I mean, show the long ones. Maybe list the stats, on your profile, the fact that you made, 60 out of, 65 extra points or whatever. But, yeah, show that you've got a strong leg on the kickoffs, booting it out of the back of the end zone and show your longer field goals.
Right, and running backs, again, it's downfield blocking as well as running the ball and catching the ball.
Bet.
So, depending on the position, you may have different segments within that highlight video that you want to try to capture and get out there. Because, you may be a running back, tailback in high school, but when you get to the college level, because of your size, you may be switching to a fullback. So they want to see, your blocking skills.
Sure.
So
now you do lacrosse and soccer and all the other sports as well. Now, and again, same thing there. I mean, they want to see how they transition. The ball's turned over, or whatever the case may be, how they transition, how they pick up the next man. Do they hustle?
Right.
Kind of like receivers in football when the ball's not coming to them. Right. Are they still running their route? Let's see how they run their route when the ball's not designed to come their way. Are they just taking a play off? Are they just sort of playing, patsy with the defender, or are they really trying to sell them on, hey, ball's coming to me?
Right, exactly.
All these little things. It's not all about your glory plays. It's about showing what you do, your fundamentals, your hustle, that you know the game and you know your position inside and out, and that you do those little things.
And for people who are in the recruiting process, have submitted film, video, you'll know that not just the highlight video, that 3 minutes of the best stuff, but college coaches will request a game or two, a full. They want to see the full game just for that very reason. They want to see what you're doing when you're not in the play,
right,
or you're not on the field.
Right.
Are you standing on the sideline, grab bagging with the cheerleaders, or are you being the cheerleader on the sideline, leading the team
being a leader.
Being a leader, exactly. So, be prepared that it's and we do it, when we film practices. We're looking at what is being done away from the play.
Big brother's watching.
Exactly, and that's gotten a lot of people some lap time.
Yeah, so, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Well, very cool. Well, I tell you what, let's take a quick break. And we'll pick up where we left off. Again, I think these are very important things. I think parents and student athletes and some of the coaches out there, you can work really, really hard at setting up your highlight video, but you're going in the wrong direction. Work smart, not just work hard. So we'll pick up where we left off when we come back. Please tune back in. We'll be right back with you. If you're serious about your recruiting process, you need exposure, plain and simple. Download the ViewRecruit mobile recruiting app today and be part of the #1 high school athletics and college coaching network. Get it today on iTunes for your iPhone or iPad. The ViewRecruit mobile recruiting app, recruiting at your fingertips. All right, and we're back. Hey, thanks for tuning in. This is another great edition of the Breakdown, Recruiting Simplified. I'm Roger Tillis, your host, here with Chuck Olessker. Not an engineer and co-host today, by God. He's in the hot seat. He is the guest today, sharing his wisdom about the do's and don'ts and really the finer tips on how to set up your highlight video, what the coaches want to see, et cetera, et cetera. And these are those little things that you don't really think about, and you figure I can just toss out whatever the coaches will figure it out. Wrong. And I tell you, this is where it really starts getting important. When these kids start breaking down their video, there's no hiding behind it. Once you get the video out there, it's out there,
right,
and it can make or break. Again, as we said in the first segment, this isn't about the coaches looking at it and going, "Oh wow, that's the guy I want." They know. They know that they're seeing the best plays. I think your bench warmer, your worst player on the team, could probably come up with 3 minutes worth of highlights. But it's enough to whet their appetite so they can see your mechanics, see how you handle yourself. Those really, great plays that tell them, it appears that he has some skill. Let's investigate further. And that's what this video is. So believe me, if you throw a half-assed video out there for your highlight and it's not appealing, your process is pretty much done right there. You can call the coach as much as you want. They're moving on to somebody that they feel is a bit more serious. So if you don't take the time to make that video, that highlight video, professional, if you will, if you're not taking the time and it doesn't, bleed seriousness to the coach, they're not going to mess with you. There's too many kids out there that are doing it the right way. And again, you don't have to spend money to get it done. You can do it yourself if you got the computer and if you take the time. Really, a lot of the process is about taking the time. Just don't be lazy. Take the time.
Yeah, exactly. And it does, if you're not terribly technical or computer savvy, there is a learning curve to the software.
Sure.
Certainly, you can ask other parents, what software they've used for their kid, and give tips. There's some basic software programs out there that can assist the parent in putting that information together. If not, certainly the school would be able to do it.
Absolutely,
do that for you.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think you have to have a high dollar budget at a school in order to do this. If you take video, I can bet you that somebody at your school, maybe a peer, maybe one of your friends or the students, knows how to do it. Maybe you take them to lunch. I don't know. You'll figure it out. If you really want to get that highlight video done and done correctly, you better figure it out.
And certainly there are services like for those who are playing football, basketball, lacrosse. That Huddle has a pretty decent highlight ability.
Their format, of course, the issue there is your school has to be taking part and your school has to be doing the video. Some schools just don't have the luxury of having the video equipment or the resources to do the taping.
Right.
And for those, that's where mom and dad, better get off the dime somehow. Find a relative, find a friend, someone that's got a camera that can take it. You may have to find someone that will help you out.
Right.
Here's the thing: ask. Put it out there and ask. Tell somebody you need the help. You're serious about this. If you think you can sit back and think that, some eye in the sky is going to be taking video of you and somehow the coaches are going to see it, wrong. Right. It just doesn't work that way.
And remember, there are other parents out there probably filming their child as well. So
maybe split the cost.
Split the cost, yeah. Certainly there's something that you can grab a copy of the tape or, the CD or DVD when it's completed. Pay them a few bucks for the DVD. So there's game film available for you. So there really should be no excuse not to have some sort of highlight.
Great. And here's the thing. Just like everything else with ViewMySport.com, if you aren't quite sure how to set up your highlight video, if you have some questions about it, unique to your situation, go to www.viewmysport.com, click on Contact Us, send in your questions. Let us know what your situation, your issue is, the problem that you're having, and we'll try to come up with a solution for you to get it answered and send you in the right direction. That's really all we can do. But if you don't take the time to research, to get into it, and to ask for help, then you're not going to get any help. It doesn't just come. I don't care what kind of athlete you are. Right. You need to put in that time.
Exactly.
Now, and again, we talk a lot about football and whatnot. I think soccer, lacrosse, basketball is real big on transition.
Right.
You might be a 3-point bomber, but they're going to want to see how you play defense. They want to see, are you hustling down court and things like that. So again, don't just show you, sinking threes for 3 minutes. Show how you D up. And that should tell you in your head how to play the game. Of course, if you're worth your salt in your sport, you know this. And you know that you play, every second of every minute of every, quarter, whatever the case may be, you go full tilt the whole game.
Right.
Not just during the glory periods, not just when you're making the catch or, swinging the bat or, whatever the case may be. So, I think, and here's the thing now. Used to be you had to make DVDs or CDs of the highlight video and make 50 copies, 100 copies, and put them in envelopes and stamp them and mail them out and all that kind of stuff. Understand something. That's old school. That's antiquated. Now you might think, oh, but if I send a special CD, they're going to get it. They're going to look at it. I've been in college coaches' offices where they're using stacks of CDs and DVDs as coasters, or door. I saw one as a doorstop. So I'm telling you, it's trying to get that information out in front of these coaches as easily as possible. And with like ViewMySport.com, you can go on to their website, and in addition to putting your stats and photos and all your information and contact data and whatnot, there's a place there where you can actually upload up to 5 highlight videos. That is more than adequate. We recommend, personally, take your video from whatever you have on your computer, upload it to YouTube. YouTube, come on, let's face it. YouTube is, that's the king of the hill as far as video service. Get it on YouTube, because that's just another place that video can be discovered. Then you can embed it from YouTube and transfer it directly over in seconds to your profile on ViewMySport.com. Of course, with ViewMySport.com, you can then send the profile, which includes your video. You can send all that out to the coaches. That's all. That's all about ViewMySport.com. We don't have to get into that. I think you guys know that. If you need help with that, let us know. But the key is to get that video in as many places as you want. Don't just slap it on Facebook and try to look good in front of your friends. Be serious. Put it in a format and put it in places that it'll be seen. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You want the widest possible viewing audience that you
exposure.
Possibly. Yeah, absolutely.
It's all about exposure.
It's all about exposure. And one thing to kind of touch on what you were saying about the like in ViewMySport.com, where we have there are 5 opportunities to present different videos. One question that I get a lot is, do I put a whole season? Do I wait till the end of the season to put a highlight video together? And I would say as soon as you can put 10 to 15 good quality highlights together, create a highlight tape and put it and upload it to your profile. If it's over the first 2 or 3 games, that's fine, and then you just keep updating it and updating. Once you reach 5, your limit to you take one down. Maybe it's
rotate them through.
Maybe it's last year's highlight video. When you were on JV or something, you take that down and you keep putting up the more recent highlights.
Exactly. So, and that's the key. The key is get on the radar with the coaches and then stay on the radar. And the only way you stay on the radar is by continuing to update the coach. I'm telling you, the recruiting process is up to you. The coaches aren't going to, be beating your door down just because they saw one highlight video. This is something that is, and especially if you're starting young, and it's okay. When you're in middle school, send the coaches some of your video, your highlights. The key is you continue to send them. Now, I'm not saying every week, but like Chuck said, maybe the first quarter of the season, and you send it on your profile with a message saying, hey, coach, here's, the first quarter, it consisted of 3 games. Here's where I'm at this point. And then the next quarter, and do it quarterly. Just keep them up to date. Let them know and let them watch how you're progressing. And that's what it takes. Remember, you've got thousands of other, student athletes competing for that same scholarship. If you don't think that you need to do that to stand out, maybe you don't deserve the scholarship. I know if I'm a coach, I'm going to deal with the kids that are really showing me they're serious and that they're going to keep me in the loop. Right. They are, it's all about making sure that we communicate and stay on the radar. So Chuck's exactly right. Do it in bits and pieces all throughout the season, from season to season each year. It's not, you don't just lob the grenade and walk away and see what happens.
And one other thing that I've seen run across is when creating highlights against teams that are of high quality caliber. It's one thing to show you scoring 10 touchdowns when you've beat a team 80-0, but it's another one when you're playing a team who's ends up being the district champion or a state champion in the season, and you've kept it close. And you may end up losing that game, but you have quality highlights against a quality team. Those are tremendously important to show and to share.
Those are the little things that help you stand out. Yeah, for an example, let's say you're a receiver and you're going against a defensive back the whole game, and that defensive back, let's say, is already a Division I commitment or whatever the case may be.
It's a 5-star.
Yeah, it's a 5-star prospect. Make that note in your message to the coach. Coach, check it out. Here's some highlights of the game against XYZ High School. By the way, you'll notice so-and-so is who I was D'd up against. And, check out how I handled this D1, recruit. And yeah, those are the little things. Those are the things. You're not blowing your own horn. You're bringing to them attention to those very important details that Chuck's talking about. Anything that will help separate you. Again, there's thousands and thousands of highlight video out there. It's about standing out and showing legitimate information, not just trying to make you look good, but showing legitimacy too.
Absolutely.
Stuff that can be validated. Absolutely. That's huge. Absolutely huge. And these are all important things. Again, you got to understand this is where you start separating yourself from your competition, and you've got to take it serious.
Exactly.
Beyond that, we don't really know what more we can tell you. The coaches are looking. The coaches want their appetites whet, and this is how you go about doing it. So, and regardless of what your sport is, you might think, well, swimming, it's not, you don't need a video. Well, maybe not. There's some sports where it's just about going to the charts, seeing who's got the top times in the country, and they go after them. But you know what? What if early on you send the video as part of your profile to a coach and let them look at your mechanics? Maybe they don't need it, but it might be something that's different than what everyone else is doing.
Exactly.
Maybe it shows that you have that drive and that want to be there, which is what these coaches are looking for. That's all part of the individual that they want to, offer that scholarship to.
Yes.
And it's all those little things that add up. So, when in doubt, send it out. That's
exactly.
That's the way that we feel that that should work.
Right.
I tell you what, let's take another quick break.
Okay.
When we come back, we're going to switch gears a little bit, get into your recruiting experience, and talk about how things went down, and maybe share a few bits of information, from that journey that might help the kids and the parents out there that are facing perhaps the same situation.
Right.
So tune back in, and I think we're going to have a good time. So we'll see you in a few minutes. There are thousands of high school athletes that want to play at the college level. They just don't get noticed. At ViewMySport.com, we get your game out of the shadows and into the college spotlight. It's fast, easy, best of all, it's free. In the time you can text your friends, you can create and send your own athlete profile to as many colleges as you want. Get to the next level. Visit ViewMySport.com today and follow the 3 simple steps. Why wait? Your competition's not. All right, moving on. Tell you what, we talked about some good stuff. We talked about, I think pretty much every important piece coming together as far as highlight videos and how to use them, how to make them, what's important, what's not, all the right tips. As we said, if there's something about your situation that you need assistance with, go to viewmysport.com, click on the Contact Us, and send over your question. We'll be here to help. One way or another, we're going to get you where you need to be. Time to shift gears. We're going to get into a little bit of more of a personal journey discussion with Chuck. Chuck, again, you have a son who now he's going to be a sophomore.
Senior.
Well, there you go. Hey, time doesn't fly, does it? Parents, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If you haven't had a kid whip through high school yet, believe me, don't blink.
That's right.
So you've got a son who's going to be a senior at the University of Georgia.
That's right.
He played football. He was a wide receiver at the Bulls School in Jacksonville, Florida. Mm-hmm. A successful receiver.
Yep.
Got some offers. Not Division I offers, but he got some offers Division II, et cetera, Division III.
Yeah.
Needless to say, he was a player with enough skill set to get a scholarship. He was where everybody is trying to get. He worked hard. You worked hard. Everybody did the right things in order to get him there. And then you got to the apex. You achieved the ultimate. You got the offers. That's just a matter of sitting back and making the decision.
Right.
That's where the easy part stops. You think it's easy. Listen to Chuck's journey. Chuck, take us back. Let's talk about, first of all, tell us about Christopher in high school, and tell us how things progressed there and what happened.
Well, certainly coming from a noted program, if we're fortunate and blessed to have been part of the Bowles School here in Jacksonville, and working with Coach Corky Rogers for so many years.
High profile coach there, too.
He's won a couple games. He's like the seventh or eighth leading winning coach in all of
in the nation
in high school football. Won 3 state championships.
And now the state championships, were they all while Christopher was there?
Yeah. Yes.
Outstanding. Wow.
Yeah. First time, and then we'd won for the first time back to back, and that had never been done before at Bowles. So we're quite honestly we got a little something going on. We're a little confident. We're a little probably full of ourselves at times.
We meaning you and your wife and Christopher, or the Bowles program in general?
All
a little bit of everything.
All of that, because you think, okay, here we are. You're the parent of a pretty decent athlete
in the limelight.
Sure. And you're coming from a program like Bowles. We see college coaches on a weekly basis that come by the weight room or come up to the field to watch.
Meaning college coaches.
College coaches, yes, okay. Exactly.
Sure.
So we're thinking, hey, you know what? We'll and at the time we had some pretty big names, some guys that were definitely D1 material, and so we thought, well, we'll kind of ride in on those coattails as well. And the process, once football season's over, once we won our state championship, it got busy for us as parents and as the athlete, seeking out schools, and it was tremendously humbling when we thought that many more offers were going to come in.
And what kind of offers were you getting at this point?
Yeah, it's actually not so much as offers as it was looks. I mean,
interest.
Interest. Probably the big program that we were really excited about was through Dartmouth College.
Nice.
It's a dream of. Fortunately, my son is a very good student, and so even to be considered by an Ivy League school
certainly
was quite the honor. We made an unofficial visit up there and met with the coaching staff and attended a game, and people were excited to see us. I guess they needed receivers and. But Ivy League is very unique when it comes to how they handle their scholarship information.
There is no athletics money, that's for sure. Yeah.
So we had to deal with that. I mean, they're very kind of strict and regimented on how they divide out their scholarship money. So but then we had offers and looks from other smaller school, Division II, Division III, but we got to a point where my son Chris felt that it's not that he wasn't, that these smaller schools were beneath him. He just had ambitions. You've come from a name like Bowles that you want to play for a big name program, and those offers and those looks really didn't come.
As much ambition as he had in his own mind, he felt he belonged D1, wanted to be D1, but the bottom line was he in comparison to the competition out there, he wasn't D1 material.
Right. Exactly.
Obviously. But here's the thing too, and if I may interject, for all of you out there, if you're not getting offers, if you're not getting interest from Division I or even Division II, it seems that it's coming from JUCO and NAIA and Division III and whatnot. Well, the fact is, be realistic. that probably means that you're not that kind of material. I don't care what your coaches tell you. I don't care what your family tells you, what your friends tell you, what your teammates tell you. I don't care what you're doing in 7-and-7 tournaments and all the other combines and crap that you go through. When it comes down to college coaches making the selection, if you're not getting the interest, wake up, realize, stop chasing Division I if that's the case, because you're just wasting their time, you're wasting your resources and time, and shift. Now, some players say, no, D1 or bust. I don't want to play at the lower level. I either want to be in the limelight, I want to be on ESPN, I want to be on TV, I want to, et cetera, or I don't want to play at all. Now, with that said, so Chuck, pick up where you left. Okay, so here you are, you're getting the interest from we'll say the lower division schools.
Right.
Again, nothing wrong with it. I'm a big small school advocate. I love the NAIA. I love being able to go anywhere where you can take your sport and your craft and get an education. Right. That's just, me. I think there's a lot of opportunity. But Chris had other ideas.
He did. As we got further on through the spring of the recruiting season, the National Signing Day came and went. And like many players from that particular team, many of them were still unsigned and not sure. We were kind of waiting for the fallout to see what players who had committed, who said they verbally committed, but they
ended up not signing. Right.
So to see if there were going to be any openings that way. But as time grew closer to graduation, I mean, we're moving now into
D-Day
May.
now.
Yeah, now we're moving into May. We felt now we had applied first and foremost. We applied to several schools for academic purposes. I mean, we knew that going in.
Got to make sure you can even get accepted at the school. You may want to go to a certain school. Got to get accepted first.
Right.
Yeah.
So we made as if he were not an athlete.
Excellent tip there too.
Right, absolutely. That's something that you don't take athletics for granted. If it happens to be part of the process, that's great. But the academics come first, and so that's the way we kind of approached it as a family. We looked at various schools, and so we applied to I think 6 different schools. Was accepted at 5 of them, and he was. And as graduation day loomed, Chris decided that, what, I think I just want to be a student.
Take football out of the equation.
Take football out of the equation. But the program, like at the University of Georgia, they got a tremendous intramural program and tremendous opportunities for people who still want to play club sports.
Yeah, there's plenty of athletics out there. Sure.
So there's things that he can do to stay active and things.
But come on, Chuck, it's not playing college ball.
And it
did
was,
that thought?
Absolutely.
How did you feel? I mean, how did that all go down? I mean, when he came, did you see it coming, or did he finally trap you in a corner and say, "Pop, we got to talk"? Tell us about that.
Well, no, I think it was. As time went on, and we weren't getting the looks, the contact, it started to kind of settle in, sink
reality
in, the reality,
check.
Absolutely, that it was going to be, well, you know what, this may not be. And
even though the offers were out there, I mean, personally, and it's okay, be honest, it's okay to share.
Yeah.
I mean, when that decision time came and he was talking about, I'd rather be an academic student at a big college than football player and a college student at a small school, which again that's one of the many decisions that the student athlete has to make. At that point, did you feel the twinge of I really wanted to see him play college ball?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's for every parent who has a child who plays some level of athletics and plays at a pretty decent level of competition, that it would be nice. Maybe it's just to feed my own ego, but it would be nice to say, hey,
it's a pride thing. There's a little pride. Yeah,
my son is playing for University of such and such. He's a receiver, or he's a defensive back, whatever whatever position your child plays. I'm a libero for volleyball team,
sure,
or whatever.
Whatever the case.
Whatever the case may be. It would be nice to be able to flip on an ESPN or Fox Sports and say, hey, there's my son playing, and things like that.
Or even just go up to Eha Junction, North Carolina, and watch him play for an NAI team. watch him play collegiately, period.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Just to see him take that craft to the next level, period.
Right. And but as time went on, we realized that, that wasn't going to happen, and he was okay with that. He was
okay with it.
Yeah, and it's still,
Dad?
to this day, it still stings a little bit.
You kind of wish?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Every time you're writing that check out to University of Georgia, I bet it, and that's another facet of it, financial.
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden you see free education flying out,
Yeah.
And that's a whole for some people, ain't an option.
No, right. Again, we had planned, not just from the academic side, that the academics were coming first, but financially, that we knew that there was going to be a good chance that he was going to attend college out of state. So we had planned, years ago, as parents should plan for that fact that, you know what, you may not attend college in state, and it's going to require out of state tuition, and so we planned accordingly. So sure, there are times today, even when not Georgia wasn't one of the ones that he considered as far as for football, but I can see him playing. I mean, he had the talent and he had the drive, but one thing I've always told him is that don't look back on a decision and say, "Gee, I wish I could have done this."
Put it all on the line first and see what happens.
So we. So he's made that decision. He's comfortable with that decision, and he's happy. He's
and
having
move on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, football, the void that not playing football leaves, all of a sudden gets filled by so many other wonderful things, and that's the beauty of college. There is just so much exposure to so many different things, venues, and from a social aspect, from an academic, from a life standpoint.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, no, we all know that, we think that the football, creates life lessons, but the opportunities that Chris has been presented while he's been at Georgia to do things he's really gotten involved in the community, mentoring programs and helping out with local churches, and then he went to Australia earlier this year.
I was just going to say, Chuck, it's funny, the positive spin of this is that he's not, weighted down, 365 days and, off-season training and all that he does have that freedom to be a freer student and go out and maybe gain some of these great opportunities, like going to Australia,
Absolutely.
Going to, being a mentor at a camp and doing some of these things that, so tell you what, I love sports, love college sports. Obviously, we're all about promoting the kids that want to get there. But parents, as we're talking about, as you can see, it doesn't have to be the end of the world. What do they say? One door closes, a window opens, or whatever that phrase is. So, you got to put things in perspective and realize that even when things go right, when everything that you did from a recruiting process standpoint actually bends in your favor, the final outcome still may not be what you wanted. And parents, you got to be prepared to handle that. As Chuck handled it, yeah, it still stings. Come on, man, he's really pissed about it. Way to go, Chris. No, I'm just kidding. No, but honestly, it's something that affects all the family members. For the parents out there that think, gosh, well, what if the only way my kid can go to college is sports? I can't afford financially to do it. And by gosh, the kid can't, he doesn't want to be paying for the rest of his life extraordinary interest rates, and maybe can't get student loans or whatever the case may be. So maybe it's one of those situations where if he doesn't take that scholarship for athletics, he can't go to college, or maybe he'll have to go to JUCO. You better live with that too.
Right.
And that's something that you better plan for and talk. You have to assume, I'm not going to say worst case, but you have to assume what would that be? Is worst case staying home and going to JUCO? Might be. But the fact is, you have to be prepared for something other than the typical final outcome of the recruiting process, which is getting the scholarship. Had a parent who shared with me a situation where a kid was D1 material all the way, went through his junior year, hot dog. During the summer, before his senior year, he just decided to quit. Had a girlfriend, got a truck, loved his truck, loved his girlfriend, loved all the things that they, the freedom. And all of a sudden he realized, wow, there's another world out there past football. I know that I can get a D1 scholarship. I mean, it's being handed to me. He had several offers, turned them all down. Turned every bloody one of them down, ended up not taking a single one, didn't play football his senior year. Talking about, and the parents were, because they had spent money on combines, on camps, traveling, sacrificed a vacation to go to camps, and, all that stuff. So it did affect the family as well. Well, the kid graduated, kid was happy, the parents got over it, kid goes away to the college that his girlfriend happened to go to, wasn't even a school that was even considered, goes in his freshman year and all of a sudden starts getting the itch to play football. He was a linebacker. Decides to walk on at the college. Guess what? Walks on, loves them. They give him a scholarship. So again, you never know what the path is going to be, but you have to do what's right for the child. You have to do what's overall right for the family. Some sacrifices have to be made on both sides. We're just saying it's not all rose-colored glasses.
Right.
There's a lot. And I mean, I tell you, Chris has obviously survived the process.
Yep.
Things didn't work out the way you thought. You seem to be okay. You're a little punchy from time to time. He has flashbacks. Right. Wants to slap the helmet on and run through the wall from time to time. Right. But everybody came out okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, exactly. In the short term, our short-term thinking is, right now everything's fine. Yeah, I wish, we kind of wish he played football. And there were times when he wished he had played, that he, thought about, trying to walk
misses
on.
that, especially when he probably goes to a game and thinks,
yeah.
oh, man, I'd rather be on that side of the bench than this side.
Absolutely. But the long term, long after you and I are gone, is his impact and his in the community. And I know athletes have positive impact as well, but for him, this was his path. This is his path, and that's fine.
Is what it is.
It is what it is, and I live with that, and he lives with that, and my wife Karen lives with that.
Well, it sure seems like you're doing better than just living with it, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Progressing, achieving, being successful, exposure to other things, outstanding.
Absolutely.
I'd say that's a good recovery.
Thank you.
All right, tell you what, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll wrap things up. And pretty excited. This has been a good deal. Good deal. Chuck, you done good. Done good.
Thanks, Mr. Tillis.
Stay tuned in. We'll be right back. Hi there. This is Roger Tillis.
And Chuck Olessker from The BreakDown and ViewMySport.com.
Athletes Helping Everyone Reach Out Against Bullying was founded with the purpose of bringing awareness to and educating our youth about the lifelong effects of bullying and how they can prevent it.
Be a Hero Against Bullying is not about religion. It's not about politics. It's not about money. It's about compassion. It's about caring. It's about being a friend.
As an athlete, you carry a lot of influence among your peers. They admire and look up to you. A gesture as simple as inviting a target to sit down with you during lunch or walking into the next class can save lives. Student athletes are making their schools a safer place and saving lives just by being a friend.
Learn more about this anti-bullying campaign by visiting www.beaheroagainstbullying.org or visiting us on Facebook. Thank you.
All right, and we're back. Hey, thanks for joining us here on The Breakdown, Recruiting Simplified. I'm your host, Roger Tillis, again with special guest, Chuck Olessker, not just a co-host today, very special guest. Been sharing some great information with us. Yeah. Thank you very much. This has been a great show, and we're real happy to, pretty much have anybody on that can share those little nuggets of wisdom with our audience. And having Chuck on the show, obviously we'll take anybody on the show. Just kidding. Now, I tell you, let's take a quick moment, though. We do want to talk about today's, or I should say this week's, ViewMySport.com Athlete of the Week. Chuck, why don't you let the audience know who we're talking about?
Great. Thank you, Roger.
Sure, you bet.
Johan Tejada from Guatemala. Is a class of 2014. He's a fencer. He competes in the EPI competition. And we're very excited to have Johan as this week's ViewMySport.com's Athlete of the Week.
Outstanding. Johan from Guatemala. And, it's funny. We have actually a division, if you will, of ViewMySport.com. It's ViewMySport.com Latin America, run by Tracy Farrington, who is heavily involved actually in the fencing community there in Guatemala. So shout out to Tracy. And keep on doing what you're doing, because obviously you're doing something right. Johan is a perfect example of that. And Johan, thank you very much for using ViewMySport.com and ViewMySport Latin America. And, we're thrilled to have you as this week's Athlete of the Week. So keep on doing what you're doing. Chuck Olessker here, our fine guest. We've shared some good information. I mean, this is the other stuff that you don't typically hear when you're trying to be educated in the recruiting process. And as we have promised, God, when the company started, it was our foundation. It was our mission statement, if you will. We want to help educate the parents, the coaches, the student athlete themselves on all of the process that is recruiting. So if we can share some of this information, kind of get those gears going, help prepare you for everything, not just the glory part, but everything. Well, that's our job. Right. That's what we're here for.
Exactly.
When we left off, we pretty much had finished up about, with Chris's journey and your journey. And, the fact is, in summary, if you will, every student athlete stops playing their sport, whether it's through the NFL or the NBA or the Olympics or whatever, you get to that pinnacle and you stop, and then you have a career after that. Some just hit it sooner than others. So whether it's the student athlete that they peaked in high school as far as their sport, that was it. They now have their next career, which is college, and then whatever they're going to do for their life career and whatnot. Everybody has life after sports. All right, from that level. And I think that it's important as a parent that you have that discussion with your kids. Sports are great, yes. Balance it out. Talk about, what would you do if you didn't go to practice today? What would you do if all of a sudden football wasn't at the school, or basketball? Or, what would you do if one morning you woke up and you said, man, I really hate tennis, hate my coach, hate tennis, really don't want to play, rather fish. You got to talk about this kind of stuff. Right. And so it's not, such a shock to the family, the parents, but it then helps guide your child. It opens their mind a little bit more. So then when they are looking at going to college and playing sports, they have a better grasp of the real situation. And I mean the real situation, I mean real life, meaning the school, the academics, the social aspect, the geographical aspects of going to college. I live in Florida, kids going to school in, Seattle, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
I think these are all things that a lot of people miss out on. They're so focused. They have that tunnel vision on the glory aspects that I always refer to it as of the recruiting process. But I think that ultimately, to do your child a favor, talk about all of it. That doesn't mean you're demotivating them. It just means that they're prepared. Maybe instead of just going to college and being an athlete, now they're going to go be an athlete and really open their eyes to everything else that college offers them. You hear it time and time again. How many shows have we had now? I think this is number 15 or so. Yeah. Every single coach, athlete, parent, everybody we've talked to says the same thing. Academics and the college experience, that takes you beyond the sports, after the sports, whether it's day one or 20 years down the road, it happens. Right. And you can't pretend like it's not going to happen and it'll take away my focus in my craft. Man, your craft is life, and you better balance it out. And so this has been a good lesson, by Chuck, and again, thank you so much for sharing your personal journey.
Welcome.
Yeah. And it's a great example of things not going the way you want, but not going wrong.
Right.
And that's our lesson. The fact is, if it doesn't go down the path that you wanted it to or thought it would, whether you're the athlete or the parent, that doesn't mean it's bad or wrong. It's different. You adjust. That's life. That's where sports can come in and teach you those life lessons.
Absolutely.
All of that. And I think that is a huge lesson and something that the parents and the athlete, their student athlete, and the coaches, It's okay for the high school coaches to deviate from their, kicking cans mentality to maybe, sharing some of this information as well. I think we need more of that.
Yep.
I think well-rounded athletes, scholar athletes, college student athletes, high school student athletes, just rounds it out better.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Chuck, any parting words of wisdom? You're usually so full of it. I'm sorry. That came out right? Did I say full of it? I meant full of wisdom.
Full of wisdom.
There is a difference.
I've come to the mountain.
Although I think you probably are full of it too.
Yeah. No. It's. I guess the final thoughts is that it's been we've enjoyed the ride up to this point, and for the athletes that will continue to play on in college and maybe at the professional level, even at the Olympic level, representing their respective countries. That's great. Continue to enjoy the ride. Enjoy the life lessons that athletics and sports and competition has presented you, and take those lessons and make yourself a better person out of it. That's all you can do. Outstanding words. See, not full of it, full of wisdom. Thanks, Chuck. Thank you very much. Okay, you're welcome.
This has been outstanding.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Roger.
Good show. Good times. All right. Well, and I think that's pretty much it. I think we'll end it on a good note. We'd like to say thank you to all of our sponsors. Obviously, without the sponsors on our show, this would not be possible. But obviously the athletes, the parents, the coaches, everybody out there, our audience, the View My Sport Nation, thank you so much for tuning in. And stay tuned for next week's show, because every week we're going to bring you some helpful information. And as Chuck said, remember, all of you, enjoy the ride.